Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, and in this video I will be creating a very simple indicator that you can see here on my chart. And yeah, this is very simple indicator which basically shows you the average daily range for your currency pair. Daily average range basically means the range that the price tends to deviate from its open price for the day. And yeah, so I will show you how you can create something like this. Before I start with this tutorial, I would encourage you to check out my website that is in the description of this video, where you can download a lot of free indicators. So yeah, go check it out. And yeah, let's move with this video. So I would also say that it's always a good idea to know the symbol or to get familiar with the symbol that you are currently working on. This means that every symbol that you have available tends to behave differently. Okay, each of the symbols have its own specifications, and by creating indicators such as this, you can get to know your symbol better. Okay, so that's enough for the explanation part, and let's get to the programming part. So I'll go here to my MT5 editor, and basically this script you can create as an expert advisor or indicator. It really doesn't matter because the approach will be a little bit different in this one. But I will create it as an indicator. So I will go here to my YouTube folder, I will create a new file and let's call it daily range. And I won't need any parameters and I also won't need any plots. Okay, so yeah, this is what we are working with. The first thing I will do is that I will delete all of these comments that I won't need. Okay, so let's just delete this before we start. And on timer, I also don't need on timer. So this is all I need basically. And the approach that I will be using for this indicator will be a lot different than the approach that I have been using for the previous indicators. Because with a normal indicator, what you do is that you basically create a for loop on this onCalculate function, and in that for loop you loop through all of the available candlesticks and you calculate the indicator for each of the candlesticks in the history. But the approach with this indicator will be a little bit different. The first step is that I will loop through all of the daily candlesticks basically. Okay, so each candlestick here represents day. Okay, and firstly I will obtain all of the data that I need. So what I will do is that I will go through each of those candlesticks, daily candlesticks, and I will get the distance from high to low. And I will store this value into an array that I will create. And after I've looped through all of the available candlesticks, what I will do is that I will calculate an average value based on the array, and also I will calculate standard deviations from those values. And then, so this is the first part. And then the second part is to loop through all of those candlesticks once again and create these levels basically. Okay, so that's the second part and that's the final part as well. So I can do all of this without using this onCalculate function, and I will show you how to do it right here. So I hope the plan is clear and that we can get to the coding part. Okay, so I will create a void function that will be called collect data. Okay, it won't need any parameters, okay? And yeah, so inside this function I will collect all of the daily ranges. Here on global scope I will create an array in which I will store all of those values, which will be called daily range. Okay, and I won't specify any size right now because I will make it dynamic. So the first thing we need to know is how many candlesticks can we work with. Okay, so let's create an integer variable called available candles, and that will be equal to i.parse for the current symbol, but here we will use the period of day 1. Okay, so now we will be working only with candlesticks with on daily period or daily time frame, let's say. And yeah, so that's the first thing. And the second thing what I will do is that I will create a for loop in which I will loop through all of these available daily candlesticks. So for integer x is equal to 0, so x is lower than array size of available candles, and I will increase the x variable by each iteration by 1, and then I will need the high and low of each candlestick. So let's create a double variable, or let's create a double variable here. So double high equals 0, low equals 0. So I don't have to create a new variable each iteration. So this will be easier on the memory, let's say. So high is equal to i.high for current symbol period day 1, and the shift will be equal to x. Okay. Now it really doesn't matter if we like start at the most recent daily candlestick and we go back, or if we start at the last candlestick, or like the first candlestick in history, and then we move forward. Okay, it really doesn't matter in this case. So I will create, or I will do the same thing for the low value. So i.low for symbol and period day 1, also with a shift of x, and I am thinking that I will start at position 1 here. So if I compile this, I'm already receiving an error, so let's check. Yeah, this was just typo. Oh, sorry, there it's not an array, it's a value, so sorry for that. And yeah, let's continue. So now I will also need a next double variable called the distance. Okay, so this distance variable will store a value that will be equal to high minus low, basically. So let's create, or let's assign a value to the distance variable, which will be high minus low. And then what I want to do is that I want to resize the daily range array. Okay, so this is like how you work with dynamic arrays in MQL5. And then I can do that, I will assign value to it. So daily range minus 1 is equal to distance. Okay, and this is basically all I need for now. So yeah, this is perfect. For the second step, so now we have all of the data that we need, and the second step is to calculate an average value and standard deviation. For this, I will import statistics library for MQL5, so I will type include, and it's math/stat/normal.mqh, and by importing this normal library, I will be able to use all of those statistical functions. And let's do exactly that. So after we collect all of our data, I will create a new variable called mean, which will be equal to math mean. So this is the statistical function for getting an average price from a dataset, and the double array will be my daily range variable, or sorry, not variable, or it is a variable, but it's an array. And then I will do something like alert, so the average distance is, and then I will do mean divided by point, so I get it like in a whole number. And mean is like this, plus, and this will be in parentheses like this. Okay, so now I know my average distance. And then I also want to know my standard deviation. So standard deviation is math, standard deviation, and daily range here. And as I'm thinking about it, I can first compute all both of these values. I will comment this out, not alert. And what this enables me to do is that I can create text on two lines, and I can say standard deviation is, and now I will do standard deviation divided by point. Okay, so this should be enough. And now I should be able to run this on collect data. Sorry, I should be able to run this function on init function. So if I compile this, I go back here, I will close this, open any new chart that I want. Let's find, okay, how was it called? Daily range? Yeah, I think it was a daily range. And then I do this. You can see here that the average distance is 771 points, and the standard deviation is 761 points, which is a huge deviation, okay? Which is really huge deviation. So just, yeah, but that's probably what's happening. If I choose any other symbol, so for example Euro USD, Euro USD is known that it's not that volatile, basically, so the standard deviation should be lower, much lower in comparison with the average. Okay, so now we didn't receive anything, and now we receive it. So average distance 768, standard deviation 666. Okay, this seems about right. Okay, so this is our first iteration. And now we can move on to the second round of iteration, where we will go over or through all of those candlesticks, daily candlesticks, and we can create the range, basically. Now, do you know what I will do? I will change this formula here, and what I will do is that I will need one more variable called open, which will be for open price, and I won't calculate high minus low, but I will firstly calculate high minus open, so from high to open, and then from open to low, and I will assign the larger value to the distance variable. So let's do open, so symbol period day 1 x, and then math max. Okay, so higher value of high minus open and open minus low. So now if I do this, I go back here, this changes a little bit. Okay, so that's good. Yeah, so let's go let's start with the second iteration. So so that's the same thing. Let's just make sure that we start at the same day, basically, and I will need this open variable right here, so I know where to start. Also, I will create a datetime starting time is equal to 0. So basically starting time is equal to I dot O time symbol period day 1 and shift X. Okay, so this is good. And now I will be drawing a lot of lines. So what I can do is that I will create basically a function which will take a few parameters, and then it will create a line based on those parameters. So create line, and firstly I will need to know the price. Okay, so where to draw the line, time, so at which time I should start or at what time I should start with the line. Then I will need color of line. Okay, so color, and then how I also want to specify the type of line. So in line style. Okay, style. So, and also the most important thing is name. Okay, so let's do so. Object create 0 name object trend. Okay, sub window 0 time. It's time. Price is price, and now the second time will be time plus period seconds, basically in 1 day, and the second price will stay the same. And now I can set some integers to it. So object prop. Firstly, let's go with color. So that's color of line name, and now I can also do line object prop style, which will be style. So I hope this works. So I will go here and I will call this create line, and yeah, so basically what I will do is that I will firstly create an upper line, then the lower line. So open plus mean. Okay, this should be okay. Then starting time for the time parameter. Color, let's go with color maroon. Style, let's go with solid line, and string name. Now I have to say something like hi at and starting time. Okay, so if I do this, it should work. I will copy this line, paste it here, and I will change just a few things here in order like to make the lower line. So low at starting time. So this should be okay. So if I go back to my chart, you can see that there are these lines. And yeah, basically let's see if this is correct or if it's not correct. So we see that the average distance is almost 600 points, and so we are starting here at open price, and both of these lines should be 600 points or 591 points from the open price, which it basically is. Okay, so this is like not an actual open price, it's somewhere in here, so this is okay. Yeah, so now you get the average range basically, so you know that the price should on average should stay between these values basically. Okay, so yeah, that's the information that you know based on these calculations. And yeah, so what I can do then is that I can create a line, and now I will create a lines for the standard deviation. So basically, if you know something about statistics, basically if you have a data set and you create ranges like one standard deviation above mean and one standard deviation below the mean, then something like 78% of all of those values should be inside that range. Okay, if you go higher with the standard deviation, then it's something like 98%, something like this, something like 97% for the second deviation, and for the third deviation it's something like 99.7%. I'm not sure now. So this is something that we can create as well. So I will just do something like this. Hi, and let's create this here, style dot. Okay, so, and let's set color to something like spring green, maybe. Let's see how this looks like. So when we do this, we get the standard deviations here. And what we can say, basically, is that we are pretty sure that the price should stay between these ranges, basically. Okay, so let's find, for example, here. Okay, so for example, here the price goes above the average range, and also above the standard deviation range. But this is something that we don't see that often. So if we like check other days, then we say that most of the times the price stays between the first range, and if it doesn't, then it stays between the first deviation. Okay, so this might be super helpful when deciding like in which type of market you are. So here you can see the second case of this. So the price ranges above the first range, then above the standard deviation. Okay, but this is a scenario that doesn't happen that much. So this is another case of this. Okay, and by doing something like this, which as you can see is super easy, you can basically like know what to expect. Okay, because in trading, when you have your trading strategy, you want to have an edge in a market. Okay, so you don't have to be sure, but you have to you have to have an edge, and this allows you to have that edge in a market. So of course, what you can also do is you can add a next standard deviation. So standard deviation times 2. Okay, and we can change the color to something like aqua. Okay, and then based on the statistics, 97% of all of those values should stay between the second deviation range, basically. So if we check it here, so this is our third deviation range. So if we check it, okay, I almost can't move it here because yeah, there's a lot of objects in here. But for example, here you can see that the price broke the first, the second, and the third deviation as well. So this is one of those cases that can happen, but you can basically say that you are 97% sure that this won't happen. Okay, so yeah, so this is extremely helpful, and you can do this with everything, basically. So if I close Euro USD, so here we can see that the average distance is 600, standard deviation is 565. If I close this and I, for example, open something like, I don't know, GBP/USD, that might be interesting, and I apply the same indicator, we can see that nothing. We can see that the average distance is much larger, basically 1000 points, and the standard deviation is 650 points. So okay, so this is the daily range for the GBP/USD. Okay, and since all of those symbols are different, this is something that can be very helpful. Okay, so I'll just think if there's anything more that I should tell you about this, or if there's anything more that I can basically do, there is one thing that I should also talk about. So basically, when you are working with a data set, what will happen is that you will have an outliers in the data set. Basically, outliers are values that are either extremely large or extremely small. Okay, and these outliers can have an impact like on the final result. So what you also could do is that you firstly can clean the first data set of all of the outliers. So you basically delete those outliers, and then you calculate the average and the standard deviation in or not in, but from the clean data set. So that will also something that I will show you here, and it's super easy. So here is our so this is our first like data set that we create. This is our mean and standard deviation. So what I will do is that for int x equals 0, array size daily range x plus plus. So let's do this very quickly. It's not difficult. So val is equal to daily range position x. Now we can say something like if a value is larger than mean plus standard deviation times 2, let's say this is the area when like you can change the values a bit, or val is lower than mean, then mean minus standard deviation times 2, and here is mean like this. Then you can remove that value, and then after you are done with cleaning your data set, you just recalculate the average and standard deviation prices. So right now we have average distance of 1025 and deviation of 650, and when I clean the data set, we should see different values. So I click on compile. So now we use the cleaning method, and you can see that this changes a bit. So this is something you should do as well. And I think there's nothing more to say. I would encourage you to try to build something like this for yourself. Basically experiment with MQL5, because really you are only limited by your ideas and nothing else. So yeah, try this out and let's see how it goes. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye.